at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern, that's 4 Pacific, for about an hour or 90 minutes each day. We do 3 gun-related topics. We do different topics throughout the week. We run it live on YouTube, and we simulcast it live over at gunchannels.com, where we're watching the live comments from people that watch the show live. Then let's see, every once in a while we'll take the audio, we'll post it as a podcast over on iTunes. So we appreciate everybody who watches the show now or in the future to leave us some feedback wherever platform you're listening to the show on. Lets us know where you are and helps the show get recommended to more listeners. So we have 4 hosts. 3 of us are here today. We got Bob jumping in from Canada. Thanks for joining.
Hey, glad to be here.
And we got Daniel jumping in from Illinois.
Yep, glad I could make it. Oh, there's the top of my head.
And I'm down here in Arizona. No Smeggy today. So let's see. We are jumping into episode number 351. It's a Monday, so we'll be talking about the week. We'll talk about social media, and we'll talk about the shooting events that are coming up. But before we dig into all of the stuff we do on a daily basis, let's take a break at the beginning, see if anything happened over the weekend or anything worth talking about.
Let's see. I just found out today that I will be able to attend the Tactical Response Alumni Weekend coming up this weekend. So any of you, if you've ever taken a class at Tactical Response, whether they were on the road or whether it was down in Camden, you are eligible, if you so choose, to come down and participate in the Alumni Weekend, where they hold a number of different seminars, is what I'll call them.
Workshop?
Little mini, workshops. Various little topics.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that they do for the alumni. People have taken classes, and they've been doing that ever since I've known them. So it's kind of cool. People dig it.
Right.
Anything going on with
looking forward to that.
Anything new happening in Canada, Bob?
Nothing I've been paying attention to.
How's your new place working out?
Pretty good. I'm not there right now. I'm at the back of the trailer because I'm trying to get all my shit cleared out of this old trailer so I can sell it.
Right on. All right. Well, I guess we can dig into the show then. I don't think anything gun-related happened over the weekend. New, at least. If we look back in history, we did have July 9th. I don't think we talked about it on Friday, but Sunday was the anniversary that Illinois became the last state to end prohibition on public possession of concealed firearms. So that's
I didn't remember the exact date, but you are correct.
So, 4 years now with concealed carry. Think about that. 4 years with concealed carry. Crazy.
And now the state full of operators.
Well, but I mean, for a long, good part of our lives, never thought of Illinois being
streets were running red with blood.
No, it's not. July 7th, we didn't talk about it on Friday, but that was the semi-automatic rifle import ban. So back in '89, on June 7th, Bush signed the ban on importations of the rifles from China. And then I don't know if we talked about Ruger dying on the 6th, but that's some stuff I guess that kind of happened over the weekend that we just didn't talk about last week.
I think we did mention it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
there wasn't a whole lot of discussion. So although he had a very large impact certain decisions didn't make him very popular.
They're saying the Shush Act is in the House, and seenitonguns.com amending the NFA. Well, yeah, we talked about the Hush Act or whatever it is. Is it Shush? No, it's, what is it? Safe? No. Share. Unless Shush is something else. But if you got a link to that, you can drop it in the gun channel side for sure.
Is that the Hearing Protection Act, or what is that?
I don't know what SUSH is. So if it's something else with suppressors, then that, or it's referring to the, what is the new one? The, I just said it. What's the new one? Hush? No. Whatever.
Hush or shush?
Share?
Share. No. Stupid names for these things. Anyhow, if something new happened, then yeah, please link it. You can link it over on gun channels. Problem with YouTube, one of the reasons we built gun channels 4 years ago is because you can't drop links in there. So that's about all I got. So we'll keep going. Oregon passed the bad ex-party confrontation. Now goes to the governor. Yeah, we talked about a little bit about that. Yeah, there's dead horse out there. So we'll find out what Pants is talking about on the gun channel side, but otherwise we'll dig into the show. So it's Monday, it's episode 351. We start out the week by talking about what we'll do this week, in case there's anything you want to prepare for, or, you know, shows that you want to schedule your daughter's wedding around or something like that so you don't miss it. And then we'll get into social media. And today we're dealing with negative comments and trolls as the subject. Hopefully not in the chat rooms. And then we'll talk about the shooting events that are over on the calendar over on gun channels. So I guess we'll dig into that. Of course, every day we do a gun shop of the day, and this week we're going to be doing them by the state. So we've done a lot of gun shops in the 350 something shows we've done. So we'll talk about the Michigan gun shops today, and we'll talk about the Illinois shops tomorrow, and Oklahoma shops the day after that. And then I guess I have a couple of other shops in here as well. So adding that to the mix as far as the gun shops that we'll talk about. And then we've got some movies. We try to talk about a movie every day. Today it's The Old Man and the Gun with Redford, Robert Redford, I guess. Tomorrow it's Death Wish, the first one. The next Wednesday is The Wild Bunch. And Thursday we'll talk about Bulletproof Monk. And then Friday is The Killer, which is basically a gun fu mixed with kung fu. Dan didn't like to hear about that. Let's see. So that brings us to tomorrow. We'll be talking about Second Amendment issues and lawyers writing legislation to line their pockets. So I guess we'll figure that one out. Our extra topic on Tuesday, since we're still trying to come up with that topic each week, is going to be money belts, and are they still being used? Then we'll do the state of Texas. We'll talk about the Texas firearms laws. Daniel just texted me and said that his computer crashed, so we'll see him back here hopefully in a bit. Let's see. Then we'll go down to Wednesday. It'll be our entertainment day. Entertainment topic on Wednesday is gun magazines, the old paper kinds, periodicals. The good idea, bad idea is going to be guns in hospitals. Should be interesting. And then on Wednesdays we do our hashtag Daily Gun Show Showdown. So we'll look at the photos over on Instagram. We've got 540 of them last time we looked, and we'll see how many more people participate over on the Instagram. We're posting pictures. Use the hashtag Daily Gun Show, and all together with no spaces. And then on Wednesdays we look at them and judge them. Let's see, Thursday will be our kind of CCW training day. On the CCW topic, we'll talk about online CCW versus classroom CCW. So online training, what do you know? Then the gun stuff segment on Thursday will be cases for transport on planes. Okay, and then we do a training segment on Thursdays. It'll be as important as offhand single shot training is. How often do you actually practice and draw in your range sessions? We're getting an echo down and a delay. It's weird. So then we've got Friday, gun tech. What? Are you kidding me? There's no segment. We don't have a subject for gun tech, or else somebody deleted it accidentally. And then we got gun biz, companies that just restamp other guns with their name, and foreign manufacturers, I guess. Then the alternative gun topic this week will be buying guns to collect but never shoot. Could that be a good idea or a bad idea? Oh, I see. Are they saying, is that a good idea, bad idea topic? But we're going to go ahead and put it under alternative gun topics. So that brings up something else that we forgot to talk about at the beginning of the show. This was the scheduling week. You know how many people showed up to the scheduling show? Me. So I had to schedule the whole thing myself. Thanks. So a couple of people.
I got a question. Who scheduled the day and time of that show?
The show that we do every Saturday, every second Saturday of the month.
Who scheduled the day and time of that little get-together?
I don't know. I thought we did it as a group a long time ago when we made it at noon on the second Saturday of the month.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
What are you saying?
Yeah, I didn't have internet all that day. Didn't get internet back till like midnight.
Mm-hmm. Whatever. So anyhow, so the scheduling's all done, and somehow we missed one. It looks like right now, somehow. Anyhow, we got that figured out. So that'll be our week for the show. Check it out. I guess we can dig into the next segment of today's show, which will be the social media aspect of the topics for the week. And we're going to deal with specifically negative comments and trolls. I don't really have any experience with that, but I've seen, maybe you guys can tell us about it. And then before we do, we'd like to take a break and feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. So Gun Channels is a community we built a while back. It's focused on firearms. A lot of stuff to do over there, a lot of friends. So every day we try to feature one of the members over there to kind of demonstrate the variety of people. And today it's Garand Man. I don't know if he's out there watching right this moment. A lot of times he is. It's got a little Z next to his name now, but maybe he's out there listening. But again, when we built Gun Channels, we wanted to build it for creators and people that like grassroots, real entertainment, real interesting stuff being created by real people. So Garand contributes quite a bit. He's always in the chats, and that's the kind of stuff that keeps people creating new stuff. So appreciate it. That's exactly the kind of place or person we built Gun Channels for. So thanks for being there. Thanks for being part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I like Garand. He's a nice guy. Always got something good to say. Or
Yeah, he's been around a long time. I mean, as far as Gun Channel members or just even people that, chatting in the side or whatever, he's definitely been around for a long time.
It made me think of something. No, I guess not. I was wondering if there was any way to right-click and see how old somebody's been, how long somebody's been on Gun Channels. I guess not. All right, so we will dig into the next topic. So you said the opposite of the kind words that Garand Man has is the negative stuff that could be out there. It's definitely an aspect of social media when we're talking about social media platforms that often, facilitate comments and conversation based on content that you create or post or link to, I guess. So I don't know, where do we want to go with it? We're not a bunch of 14-year-olds, so I don't think we need to worry about bullying or that kind of stuff. But sometimes it can definitely be an issue for content creators when they get a bunch of gruff from people out there, people who have no interest in what they're doing, decide to leave them a little something just to be a dick. I don't know.
I think at least the philosophy that I've used is, and this is a fairly common one, it's not like it's unique, is rule number one is don't feed the trolls. That means do not reply directly to their comments. Do not say anything, just let them be. Now, if for some reason that seems to have, their comment and other people seems to have picked up on it, and it seems to be gaining a life of its own, meaning the trolls are multiplying, is still don't reply directly to any of them, but as a direct post to the video where it occurred, address the core issue only in a direct and succinct manner, and let it be from that point. You've made one comment in regards to the issue, and you will never comment back again. You got to let it go. And that's only if it actually needs addressing.
You know, when I started the thing, I don't know, I was used to forums, and forums are pretty rough. Did you guys hang out in forums at all? Like pre?
Yeah.
They got pretty rough, and I didn't mind. I mean, I don't know, I guess I've been dealing with comments and stuff for a long time on the internet. So whenever YouTube started, the trolls, I guess, whoever you want to call somebody, just leave stupid comments, I would usually just be normal, you know, just kind of respond in kind. And I don't know, it was almost therapeutic for a little while there. Depends on how many comments you're getting, I guess. But
if you're trying to maintain a semi-professional or at least an adult level channel, you want to make sure that your comments reflect that same philosophy.
Yeah, I guess I hear what you're saying. I just say, and I managed to do okay by not taking that advice. I played around a little bit, but you're right. I mean, if it was just regular kids farting around, I would just give them back in kind. So if they said something stupid, I'd say something stupid. Somebody says this is the worst video ever, I say this is the worst comment ever. But I mean, if you're talking like over the line, they just get deleted and blocked. So I agree with you. You know, stifle stuff that's over the line. But if it's just, I don't know, somebody trying to be funny or something, I guess half the time I don't know what they're thinking. But like I say, I thought it was almost therapeutic to kind of fart around with some of them just to piss them off, because overall, you know, you do have the power to just block them at some point. So it's your turf that they're doing all that stuff, and you have kind of, you know, you can delete.
And back in the days when they couldn't get new identities almost faster than you could block them, that was definitely a reasonable option.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's been a while. It's been, you know, somebody really wants to be a jerk, it's not difficult to do that, like you're talking about.
And that's why I just think as long as it's not, you know, getting traction with your other users, just let it go.
Yeah, there's definitely no reason to get like worried about it or anything, like to get upset from
Yeah.
it. It's just, unfortunately, it's just one of those things. And it's probably, you know, we have the anonymous or whatever, I guess that helps people or whatever, but it's the fact that people can say what's on their mind. And if you know, normal, without electronic media to record it, I don't know, you know, if you're like running a movie theater or running, you know, put a movie up in a movie theater, you're not going to know necessarily what everybody's thinking about that movie. But if somehow you could magically have all their thoughts written down, I don't know, good 20% of them are going to be stupid thoughts, right? Because people just don't like the movie or something. So, you know, there's always going to be some percentage of people that are weird or just odd, you know, thinking they're funny maybe. I don't know, like I say, some of them are odd. But so I think that some of the trolls is just trying and not succeeding. I don't know what they're trying to do. But
there's also the individual that's trying to make a honest criticism, but in order, so because you as a creator, you may not have realized that something was in frame or whatever. I mean, but have a legitimate criticism, but it may be taken as something else.
yeah, and that happens with the language barrier for sure. There's people that don't realize are speaking English second language or whatever, and they'll say something, and that's, I don't know. It's one of the reasons I guess I would answer some of them. I don't have anywhere near the comments we used to get, but when there was a ton of them coming in, it was worth addressing some of them, like I say, in kind, because I don't know, maybe half the time I'd say something back and they'd go, wait, I meant blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, keep the conversation going. It was actually relevant. Not all the time.
Right.
I don't know who they're talking about on the YouTube side. There must be somebody who's famous for that stuff over there.
I've never had a problem with that, so.
Yeah, it's something about the crowd or something, I'm assuming, because I never made videos that were all that controversial or nothing. People would just come around, I think, just because they saw people there. You know, it was a group of comments or a group of views, so they figure that's a place to, it's like graffiti, right? they don't bother graffitiing their own house because nobody's going to see it. So they go graffiti someplace where everybody's going to see it.
Right. Just a quick administrational issue. Are you noticing any issue with YouTube today?
What do you mean? Not really.
Like, I don't have any comments over on YouTube.
Oh, just refresh. They're coming in pretty regular. They're all chatting over there. Try refreshing.
Okay. I just know we had that a week ago or whatever.
Old Skid died, I think. Pink. This used to be some guy on the Pink's Lobby channel. He would come in and comment on the YouTube side. Very few people even watched on the YouTube side, we don't think. And this guy would always get pissed. But I think like his wife came on or something and said he was dead. So he'll die. It happens.
Yep.
He was famous for a minute there with the gun channels people. Well, I don't know what we're going to do. Like I say, I don't know if anybody's had any issues with it or whatever. Like I say, we're not like, I doubt we're talking to too many 14-year-old girls out there that get too worried about it. But if there was any interesting stories or anything, we could probably talk about that. You guys haven't had too much trolls. I can't remember any that stand out or anything. Like I say, I just always throw that out there because most of the advice typically is exactly what Dano said. Just keep your channel professional and delete the stuff that's stupid. But I just like to throw out there I was the exception to the rule a little bit. I didn't like that. I didn't like to play around with my channel a little bit and farted around with some of them. And every once in a while, like I say, it was a little entertaining. And then every time it got out of line, you just delete everything they said and block them. So we do have that power. I don't know what happens on Facebook. I never really put around Facebook long enough to worry about trolls over there. Never had large enough channels over there to gather or, to have enough interest for trolls, I guess. Yeah, then that I was saying that 50 caliber AE guy who kept coming around. That was really our only troll. Well, I think that was our only troll on gun channels. From freaking where the hell is he from? Sweden or some shit. And kept asking weird questions all the time.
Now, was that on gun channels or was that on the YouTube side, listening to a chat?
That was the only one we ever had on gun channels. The guy kept logging in and then he would just private message people and ask them about the 50 AE. You don't remember that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
I do know.
So, yeah, Night Strike, one of the admins over there, he helped. Basically, we just blacked. Like, there's probably Sweden or something doesn't even get gun channels because of that guy. Because we would just block like Sweden or wherever the hell he's from. But maybe he was from the Netherlands. I forget. It's from one of the places where all white people come from. Let's see. Yeah, Raphael is saying it's easy for the trolls who don't make any content because they don't have any skin in the game. It's true. And it's a way for them to get some attention, right, off of somebody else's efforts. So there's always going to be people like that. Just like protesters and stuff. They're not going to go protest in front of their house. They're going to go protest in somebody who's making a good living, it's on some business where people are there. So they want to do their.
People don't throw Molotov cocktails at their own homes and cars.
Well, trolls aren't quite anywhere near that, but more like spray painting them or.
But it's an extreme version of what one end of the spectrum and another end of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's too extreme is all I'm saying. Trolls aren't damaging except for your psyche or whatever. They're and your patience or like interest in a platform.
They have that potential. A simple example would be a personal security, giving out information about another user that could put them in jeopardy. Like if somebody gave out, my home address, phone number, email, bank account number, social security number, just literally outed me on everything possible, and then just stood back and watched, the fire.
So your store number, Dano?
I'm glad you're breaking up, Bob. But anyway, yeah, personal information is something that we kind of sometimes take a little bit too much for granted as far as we have a wall of protection, but it's a very thinly veiled wall of protection that can be pierced without that much effort, unfortunately.
All right. Well, we're getting some good comments on this one. And I don't know, like I say, trolls is just like a phenomenon, really. And I suspect it's going to be something like the internet email scams. You know, it's just going to go away. The systems that are being created, look at gun channels. You know, it was pretty simple for us to eliminate this situation. As the internet matures and people get to use it, it's just going to be, I think, one of those, I don't know, things that disappear. I mean, they're going to be there, I suppose, but you know, people will move past it, I think. Like you say, as far as being able to make multiple accounts and stuff, as that becomes more difficult,
right. And whatever, I mean, as we've all witnessed change and the rapid increase of change that we've seen within our lives, especially within technology, you know, as big as Facebook, Google Plus, and YouTube are, I think it's inevitable that there will be something else beyond Google, beyond YouTube and Facebook in the future. What it'll be called, I don't know, but something will replace it. Maybe it'll be a combination of services rather than 3 dominating ones. It's a little bit off subject, I guess, but.
No, I mean, you're right, because nothing's permanent, especially on the internet. And like I say, even on like Instagram and stuff, it's you don't hardly see that kind of stuff so much. So yeah, I think it'll be a phenomenon. We'll all say, remember when there were this? Because look on the forums, that's when they had their heyday. Internet or YouTube let them do it, but it's nowhere near satisfying for them. The forums, I think, was where they really got their, you know, they got the most bang for the.
I kind of wonder if, like as an example, AOL used to be a destination, and you could do all the things like have your pictures there, email within there, share different things there. You know, it had its own, you know, it didn't have everything, but it had its own little thing of communicating with just your friends, i.e. Smaller version of Facebook sort of a thing, and it had a smaller version of email, and it was a destination. And what happened was those things all exploded, become independent platforms, and to become the megalopolis that they are today. And then I wonder if at some point what's old is going to be new again, and then somehow there's going to be a combining of services again. It's just much more on a updated scale.
Yep, I agree completely. And you're right, it was a lot different back then because you couldn't really troll in AOL. You paid money to be in there. So, you know, unless you were good enough to get a fake credit card and get a fake account and all that, you could troll for about a minute. But yeah, there was definitely systems in place then to stop that kind of stuff. It was a little bit different, but you're right, as the internet matured again, users matured and figured out they could do stuff without having their hands held. Then you got out into the dangerous internet, and that's when forums started up, and everybody first got their first taste of like, oh, I can be a jerk and people have to read it. You know, they don't, it was, again, it was a phenomenon, I think, that was only available, or was only possible because people were still figuring things out. So as people figured out who the trolls were on the forums, they became less effective. As you figured out, you know, reading a paragraph, oh, I'm reading the troll thing. You know, it became less and less effective. So now they're down to just being able to reply in a comment on a piece of content. And again, you can, most of the time with one click, you can remove them from ever saying anything on your channel again. But I think that turned into a pretty interesting topic. We can keep going from there. On Mondays, though, we do try to talk about behind the scenes. Next week, we'll be talking about most useful YouTube video you ever watched. We might specify by topics to narrow that down a little bit. Moving on, the week after that, we'll talk about using social media to introduce new people to guns. That should be an interesting one. Oh, looks like we need one the weekend after that. But if you've got ideas for social media stuff, if you're curious about maybe the tools, the software, the computer stuff, the telephone stuff, the camera stuff, I'm more than happy to address any of those topics. If you're looking for help with creating a channel or a brand, again, we can definitely talk about any of that stuff in this segment of the show, or it sounds like some of us will be getting together and doing some shows dedicated to content creation and all the behind the scenes stuff and some dedicated chats coming up here too. So hopefully we'll start doing those on a regular basis. All right, with that, I guess we'll move on to the next segment of the show. Huh?
It's time! It's time! It's time for the tactical quiz. So, here we are. Pop quiz, I should say. So, today is Monday, July 10th. So, G-Webs, if you could do me a favor and be my assistant for today, since Smeggy is not here, I would appreciate that.
I got it.
What's that, Bob? All right.
I got my windbreaker.
And, let me know when you're all set up, G-Webs, as far as your windows, as well as that you've seen the answer supplied, as Smeggy likes to say.
I'm good to go.
And we have to thank Cycle Camp. So Cycle Camp, I think you might be out there. You cannot participate in today's question, but I do want to thank you very much for supplying today's question and answer and a reference for the answer. So thank you very much, Cycle Camp. So, G-Webs, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't hear you say anything, so. All right, I will read the question twice. So here we go. What round was the 3040 Craig designed to replace? What round was the 3040 Craig designed to replace?
A lot of answers, but they were all no. 42 is
not
correct.
20, no. 42, no.
4570?
What? What? 4570 is indeed correct. 4570 government, to be exact. But yes, 4570 is the correct answer. Was that Angry American, I believe?
Yep, on the YouTube side.
All right, so congratulations, Angry American. You are today's Tactical Pop Quiz winner. Congratulations on that question. I thought it was going to be a little trickier, and obviously it did take a little time for people to get it, but once they got it, they just jumped in on it. So congratulations, and Bob, I'm going to hand you the microphone, so take it away.
So, Angry American, I guess you know what that makes you today. The daily tactical pop quiz hot shot.
You okay? That sounded like it hurt.
Yeah, I wonder if we need to dial 911. Or is that C911 for Canadian?
No, eh?
It's just 9-1.
311, eh?
I thought it was 9-1 because I can't remember that many numbers.
Yeah. We'll give you information on your health issue, and then you can get in line. We'll get to you for free.
None of our phones have 11 on it, so it has to just be 9.
All right.
Well, congratulations, Angry American, for being today's tactical hot shot for today. So, where are we moving on to?
They're asking us about the count, and that's a good question. We'll have to go in and tally that up again.
Yes. Yes, and that's a good question because I also forgot to refer Angry to go over to dailygunshow.com/popquiz and fill out the form so he gets credit for being today's winner. Because if you don't, then you may not be as far up on the list as you thought you were.
All right, so that's our pop quiz. That could happen at any time during any of the shows. So we'll move along. It'll be I don't know. I think we were supposed to talk about Michigan gun shops today, but our Michigander ain't here. Do you guys remember anything about his Michigan gun shops?
I don't, as well as I don't even remember him saying which one he was going to do, other than he was going to pick one other than the one he picked last time.
Oh no, I'm just talking about Michigan gun shops in general. So I'm going to swap it with tomorrow's Illinois gun shops, and then you can just tell us about the state of Illinois gun shops. So not necessarily any particular one, but you've been to gun shops in more than Illinois, or just in Illinois?
Throughout, from I would call middle of Springfield, Peoria area, from that point on north.
But have you been to any other states to compare shops from anywhere else?
Yeah, I've been to Kentucky and Tennessee, several gun shops in each.
Okay, so then in general, with your experience, where would you say Illinois gun shops are? Is there anything that's unique about them?
What I have found a difference in is that, generally speaking, with a few exceptions, that you're more likely to get a knowledgeable salesperson at the counter in Kentucky or in Western Kentucky or Western Tennessee than you are generally in Northern Illinois. Now, I'm not sure if that's simply because it's much more hunting friendly, therefore there's a lot more interaction with firearms or not, but that was my perception. That when I went in, I started talking about certain things, I didn't see the person's face get like glazed over, like they had no idea what I was talking about. And, as well as a much friendlier atmosphere, rather than a customer comes in and then the salesperson must be concerned as to the potential motives of the individual. So I just noticed that there is definitely, in Illinois, it tends to be treated more as a retail environment rather than something that we enjoy to do and we just happen to sell some here to make a living off of it, sort of a thing. So I guess there's a difference in the attitude. They could be selling, ice cream sandwiches or firearms, and it would make no difference to them in Illinois.
You brought up something that I thought was interesting. So in Illinois, you got to have a firearms owner's identification card. And you can get that when you're a kid, but you have to have that in order to buy any gun in Illinois. Do you also have to have it to buy ammo?
Yes.
So then, you know this, and people in Illinois know that. So I suspect that, well, obviously and do you have to have an FOID to even walk into a gun shop?
Not walk in, but in order to handle a gun, you have to show them your FOID card first.
So I would think in that kind of an environment, no matter where you are in the state, minus an exception or two, right? Everybody who's ever been interested in a firearm and got the gumption to walk into a gun shop has experienced that, and then either pursued it or not. But I guess what I'm saying is I would suspect that would make people in gun shops in Illinois sort of like, if they're there, they're a gun guy. Or is that not the case? Like, because you've already gone through all the effort to get in your FOID, you got to have some interest in guns. I would think that, unlike here in Arizona, where just any Joe Schmo off the street who's looking for a free pickle can go into a gun shop and hang out, and nobody runs them out, and there's no reason to, but there's no barrier to entry to be in a gun shop, I guess you could say, in other states. Does it stop the lollygaggers in Illinois?
Well, it definitely is a real speed bump to window lookers, people window shopping, because you have to have that card just to go look at one. So there is no, let's just go to the gun shop and just look around. And because the moment you want to say, oh, can I take a look at that? They're going to say, can I see your card? So it's a different sort of sales experience, obviously. And that keeps, obviously it reduces the amount of people who are able to partake in enjoying it.
What, Bob?
Yeah, unless it's a handgun up here, they'll let you. I say if it's they want to say let you handle it, just let anybody handle it, look at it. So that's a pretty stiff law.
Yes, and there are some places that are more stringent than others. Like somebody lets you touch a certain long gun if it's mechanically strapped to the wall. You know, like there's a cable going through it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think from the shops I've seen, people are equally concerned about theft and somebody loading it and doing something weird. So,
Right.
One of the reasons you won't see guns just setting out.
Right, and I definitely understand the security aspect of it, and somebody coming in and just loading it up, you know, and wanting to at least get a salesperson to assist them for both security as well as background information on the item itself. It's in I guess the attitude is we don't have a lot of gun enthusiasts in Illinois because there have been, you know, so many decades of speed bumps to this particular passion or hobby, depending on what angle at it you're coming in from. Whether you want to hunt, whether you want to compete, whether you just want to feel safe in your own home, or now whether you want to conceal carry.
Okay, so how about this? We talked about earlier that it's been 4 years now since Illinois got concealed carry. Now, I'm pretty sure that took effect at the end of the year, or did it take effect in the middle of the year like this?
We were not able to submit our applications until January 5th. So after this point, actually it was in the falls when the first classes were authorized.
Of 14 already. So even though it's been 4 years technically on paper since they okayed it, it took you guys another 6 months to be ready, like for them to accept it, and then another while.
Yes.
So in that time, though, speaking of the two subjects, gun shops and that Illinois CCW change, are there more shops? I'm assuming the shops had to change their inventory for. There's got to be more holsters and options and stuff like that, right?
Yes, definitely more holsters. Very few places, unless they cater to blue line guns, and that simply means, you know, police type guns, had any holsters. And if they did, they were typically duty holsters rather than concealed carry holsters.
Or maybe
unless it was a backup holster.
Or like competition or something special, like specific.
Yes, exactly. So places either made, it seems like most places made either one of two decisions: either let that be somebody else's business and they just kept going with the hardware, or they decided to say, we need to expand our business because of this and not just let that money walk out the door, because with every gun that goes out without a holster means we're letting money go, you know, escape that we could have had.
Yeah, 40% markup a lot of times.
But
so that's more markup than their guns. So yeah, exactly.
Right.
Now, has there been any info on the number of FOIDs, firearm owner identification, like applications?
There has, unfortunately, I don't recall the numbers to feel safe quoting them.
Well, but the concept is, though, since you need that as a prerequisite to have a concealed carry in Illinois, they have gone up. More people out of nowhere said, oh, I'm going to get a gun now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I would hope that would help the gun shops a bit, because I'm sure somebody coming up out of nowhere and saying, oh, I'm gonna. They're not savvy to go online and buy from online store or something, right? And know what a transfer is and all that.
And then, you know, and then like anything else with a brand new business, there were a lot of people that kind of rushed to try to get into that niche market, just like trying to get into CCW training, the mandatory training that's required in the state. And within a few years, it was inevitable that there would be kind of a settling of the people who were going to be able to financially stay in that market of CCW mandatory training, and those that did it for a year or two and then couldn't financially make a go of it and ended up doing something different. Because that in and of itself was a new product line for the stores to sell, was CCW mandatory training required by the state, in addition to CCW holsters. in addition to now it made even more sense to why I might want to buy a small gun versus a full-size gun, because it's easier to carry.
William is saying that 2 years ago, Illinois was setting a new record every month for FOID applications right after the CCW law passed. So I'm assuming
that is true.
So I'm assuming that meant some new gun shops, or at least some more business for the gun shops there.
Yes, that is true, as well as that year was an all-time record as well for the year. I just don't remember the actual numbers, and I don't want to quote my guesses.
Did Springfield do anything at the time to say, like, hey, buy an Illinois gun and we'll give you something off or something?
No, there was no in-state manufacturers that were trying to promote, hey, if you're from Illinois, we'll give you 10% off or 5% off or anything for that matter. Now, there were places that were initially competitive on the mandatory concealed carry class, where you could, one place might be, not counting the fingerprints, might say, well, I'll do the 2-day class for $200. Somebody else might say, well, I'll do the 2-day class for $160. So there was some competition, a lot more than there is at the moment, but there's still competition. So call around, and because it is a mandatory thing, you're going to get the format, and what's covered is determined by the state police. So you're going to get the same thing covered from one place to another place to another place, because that's what they're required to do by state law. So there's no necessarily upside to going to place A versus place B versus place C, other than the price, because they're required to cover the exact same thing. Now, once you go beyond the mandatory stuff, then it makes a difference.
Well,
as far as who's teaching it, what they're teaching.
Just because the curriculum is like established doesn't mean that an instructor can't cover it better than another instructor. I definitely.
Well, they're not allowed to deviate from the syllabus.
Oh no, I've seen back when Arizona had a curriculum that had to be hit. I've experienced both ends of the extreme. Really, really professional people that definitely hit everything to the point where it's too much, because there's certain things that just don't need to be hit that much, especially with a certain classroom level of people. You wouldn't want to go into basics for 2 hours of an 8-hour course just because it says to. And then I've been in classes where they just took the whatever benefit of the doubt way too much and really didn't do the class justice.
And I know nothing about that. I can only speak to the Illinois part. Is the instructor signs your certificate that then goes to the state police, and if any part was not covered, he signs it under threat of perjury.
Oh yeah,
so
I know.
So by him not following that, I realize, instructors can vary if they choose to, but if they get caught, it's like speeding. If you get caught, there is a penalty.
I'm not talking about not covering part of the curriculum. I'm talking about just your emphasis and the amount of time you spend on it. Because unless the curriculum is broken down to you will spend 2 hours on this and you will spend 2 hours on this, then it's up to a good instructor to say, all right, this class of law enforcement probably doesn't need me to tell them which end of the bullet, the gun, the bullet, or which end of the gun the bullet comes out of. They know the basic stuff. We'll get into more other things. Anyway, we're talking about Illinois. William says that every gun store around in Chicagoland started offering CCW classes if they had a range or access to one. Smaller pistol sales also jumped, presumably for concealed carry. Yeah, I would expect.
If I remember correctly, police officers were not required to get a concealed carry license, so you wouldn't have a class of law enforcement.
Well, all right, I'm just using that
as an example.
So anyway, there's so many people in Illinois that I would think it's going to take years for them all to figure out that there is CCW, and then decide if they want it and pursue it, since you have a bit of a hurdle to get to it. So I would think that that's still got to be a bit of a increase in sales and interest for the stores in Illinois, even though it's years old now.
Yeah, but you know, when I spoke to my particular favorite gun shop in the area, and I talked to him about how business was going, and you know, he was telling me that both in hardware and services, you know, it was in the summer doldrums, and the fact of the election, the way it turned out, you know, just kind of magnified the expected doldrums to come this summer.
And then we're forgetting about the iron pipeline. So you guys are out there, you gullible suburbanites are buying all these guns and then constantly having them stolen by gang members to be used and sold on the streets. And then you got to go back to the store and legally buy more guns. So I forgot about how that's got to be helping the gun shop's business, because they're profiting off of that violence, right?
Yeah, because I mean, just by the numbers alone, it must mean that everyone who owns a firearm there must be robbed at least twice a year.
I'm thinking at least every 6 months, yeah. For that much crime on the streets, you guys really ought to consider locking your doors. I know you like to trust people, but it's not Wisconsin after all.
I know that's
Really?
true. It's
Yeah.
not Wisconsin.
All right, well, we'll talk about cheese guns in another show, but that was a different angle on the gun shop of the day, and we'll be doing even more angles in a couple of weeks here. Hopefully, days away, we'll be on the road looking at a new gun shop every day. So it's looking really looking forward to that. All right, so we try to talk about a different gun shop every day to talk about the unique ones, the interesting ones that are out there. If you head over to gunshopguide.com, where Jimmy and I are putting together the website again to feature the shops that we've visited over the years, or I've visited over the years with various people. And then there's going to be soon, hopefully right after the show, I'll keep working on it. There'll be a place where you can suggest a gun shop. Tomorrow. So soon we'll be able to take submissions for gun shops too. And we've had lots of them come in from the audience. We do want to thank everybody for participating in that part of the show. Like I say, that's one of the big parts of the show when we first started doing this. All right, so I guess with that, we can dig into events. We go over to Gun Channels and we check out the calendar there, and we see what kind of firearms related events are on the way. And I guess I'll screen share, make it easier for everybody to see what we're doing. And we'll jump over to the main page here. It always jumps down to the chat, which is right next to the upcoming events. So it looks like Dano's stuck in that alumni weekend that he's talking about. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but Tactical Response, the training school, their campus, if you want to call it, is in Camden, Tennessee. So like I say, for years, decades now, ever since I've known about Tactical Response, like 2004 maybe or something, maybe even before that, 2003 even, I knew about that, and I thought that was kind of cool. I knew people that went back from Arizona to that thing, and actually instructors, and yeah, I always thought it was kind of cool that they would bring people back for nothing and then do these little workshops. So they offer a lot of cool classes. And I tell you what, if you haven't taken their first aid one, that is an excellent class. And then, of course, fighting pistol and force on force. So aside from that, they have a lot of interesting classes. And this, I guess, I've never actually been to it, but it's like workshops, right?
Yep.
You're going to give you
they're anywhere between an hour and an hour and a half long, depending on where it's at. And there's one day that, you kind of spend at the range, doing slightly different things. And there's another day where you may spend half of it at the main office in the classroom doing other things.
So that's interesting. Anybody wants to post something in like that? That's the whole point of Gun Channels, to let people know about stuff like that. Next up is on July 26th, I guess the weekend after that. It says, I guess it's during the week. Up in Salt Lake City is Outdoor Retailer. Anybody that's listening, it's great in the channel. It's basically SHOT Show without the guns. So instead of guns, there's like canoes and skis and like dog sled stuff. It's like all kinds of cool, like Spyderco, and all the knife companies are there. All the boot companies are there. Gerber and stuff is there, with all their camping stuff though. So not so much the tactical stuff. And pretty neat thing. Bunch of hippies and whatever you call outdoors hippies. Then we got TriggerCon, same weekend up in Washington State. just had Marco on last night. I think it was last night, chatting with everybody. Him and Pink are going to be heading out there. They're planning their route. They're going to fly into Seattle and go check out the ocean and then head down to the Nike factory. Imagine that. Marco's going to the Nike factory. And then
my God.
They'll get a U-Haul and then head back to TriggerCon. I guess it's like SHOT Show. There's a bunch of manufacturers show up and let media lay hands on the guns, pull triggers, and take pictures. And then it opens up to the public, and then the public can pull triggers and lay hands on guns and accessories. So that sounds pretty cool. I think it's the first time they're doing it, or the first time they're making a big deal out of it, at least. Looks like September 9th, which is second weekend. No. August. I'm missing all of August. So September 9th is the second weekend of September is the Bullpup Shoot up in Illinois. That's Bullpup Guns. A bunch of manufacturers get together and open up. There's a range down there. I guess they have like a exposition type of shoot. Do you remember, does it cost something to get in there, Donna?
To get into where? Oh, the one at, I don't know.
I don't either. I don't remember if it was $20 to get in or you get in and you shoot for free. But either way, you get to put hands on a bunch of interesting guns. That's in Illinois. You don't hear about Illinois. Well, we're talking about Illinois right now, actually. But you don't hear too many things like that happen in those states. September is Tombstone Territorial Days. I always throw that in there. Or I threw in a bunch of Tombstone stuff just because I was down there working on the decks and figured if somebody happens to be driving through Arizona at the time, you might go down there and probably see some free shows instead of having to pay the $7 or whatever it is. September 30th is the Texas Firearms Festival. Towards the end of September then. That is, again, a gun show mixed with a gun range. So it's like a gun show at a gun range. So the manufacturer's there. You get to shoot guns. You have to pay for it, but it's better than, having to create a channel or something and be media in order to shoot guns. So then they had the silencer, whatever that's called, this integrated pistol. Why can't I think of the name of it? You know what I'm talking about. The pistol has an integrated suppressor up front.
Yeah, it's funny looking one.
Somebody else think of it over here.
Yeah. The name is eluding me as well, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Maxim 9. I could see it. I just couldn't remember it. Okay, so anyway, that's the Texas Firearms Festival. That's outside of Dallas. I think it's south of Dallas. But not soon after is the Gun Rights Policy Conference in Dallas this year. It happens in a different state every year. It's run by the Second Amendment Foundation. All of the pro-Second Amendment gun owners' rights groups get together, except for the NRA, who doesn't have time to show up, and one other group who will remain nameless, who doesn't get invited. But everybody else, all the gun owners' rights groups, all the legitimate groups get together. They meet at one city each month or each year, and they basically take the stage for a few minutes and talk about what they've been doing, what they see as needs for the future, and any call to actions. They'll have writers and lawyers and radio show hosts and stuff get up and give like the state of their industries, and should be an interesting year. Apathy, of course, is our biggest enemy right now. So anybody that wants to watch that, if you don't want to go to Dallas and be in an exciting room of activists, then you could probably watch it. The Polite Society podcast has broadcast it live streaming for the last few years, and of course we rebroadcast over here on gun channels. Hope to be there this year though. Again, let's see. Then we got the Ohio Cartridge Show, which is in the next weekend. I put a couple of these in here last year. They're gun shows that are just cartridge collectors, in case anybody's out there. And then we got the Knob Creek Shoot in October, which isn't showing up. The other one isn't showing up on here, but that's the Big Sandy machine gun shoot. Both happen in October. And that's about it on the calendar for now. We're seeing a lot of stuff, but obviously we're missing anything in August. So if you got anything in August that you're aware of, be sure to add it to the calendar. And again, stuff is specific as like a school like this, or as just general as a shoot that's open to the public. All that kind of stuff is interesting to throw in there, and we will address it and amplify it on our show. We encourage the other shows out there to check out the calendar and help get these events more coverage. Apathy, again, is our biggest adversary right now, and something like going to a show and like one of the big gun shows, or going to an event like this, might be the kind of thing that gets you interested in it again. If it gets your cameras out there, maybe it gives your channel a little boost, and that gives you some more interest in doing your thing. So definitely consider getting out there and fighting the apathy. And you can do that as simply as using the calendar over on Gun Channels and post things for other people to go and attend, and then you get to sit back and watch the video of it.
Apathy, you know, I'm not sure where that should. But apathy might be maybe a future discussion point, because I know even though I am politically active, both, you know, I visit people, I do emails, I call them, but I still find within myself, I don't know whether to say it's natural or not, but there are times that it's like, oh, do I really feel like doing this now? Because it's almost like, and here we go again, and trying to fight that internal apathy to make sure that it doesn't get the best of me and thus get the best of all of us, and ways to try to fight that. And I don't necessarily have any answers on that. I'm just posing the question.
One way to fight the apathy is to have some fun, right? Just to be involved and keep conversations going. So you got the YouTube, you got the Instagram. That's an easy way. You know, pull your guns out. It gives you a reason to pull your guns out. Gives you a reason to pull your camera out when you're at the range. You got your Facebook, I guess, but Gun Channels. So you've got your different ways of sharing what you're doing out there, and you know, just getting some people some comments and stuff might be a way to, you know, stay encouraged or stay interested in it when it seems, you know, not as easy to get attention as it was back when everybody's paying attention.
Right.
All right. And then, of course, keeping in mind that whatever it is projects you're working on, you know, when you're building them, it's not always about the instant conversation or the immediate conversation. Sometimes just, you know, continuing with a project and building and creating and having stuff to then talk about is, you know, and is the kind of thing that gets conversations going again, too. When people get interested and go, oh, look what that guy built. I'm going to go add to that or build something, too. All right, so with that, I guess we'll dig out of the event section of the show, and we'll get into the gun of the day. So this one we threw in there, Bob, because we were talking about it in the chat, I think, somewhere. So this one you got stuck with. Do you even know what we're talking about here?
Yeah, that is that Egyptian copy of the Beretta 9mm. I think.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know how. I guess it is. I guess it looks like a Beretta. I mean, I don't know how close of a copy, I guess.
It's pretty close from what I've seen of it.
But it's called the Elwyn 9mm.
Yeah, it's not nearly as well built, you know, but it's okay. Apparently, it's reasonably reliable. It's basically just a Beretta. So, yeah, Beretta service pistol type thing.
That costs $159.
Yeah. Yeah. Not you know, like I say, the fit and finishes is nice. It's Egyptian made. But you know, it works, goes bang. I guess if that's what you're into, I like myself, I just, you know, pay twice as much and get a real Beretta.
All right. Well, every day we try to feature a gun, and that was the gun today. Like, say, somebody was talking about it in the comments the other day, so I just stuck it in there.
Yeah.
I think I've seen them. I don't know if I've shot one. I might have shot one. Maybe I just pulled the trigger on them and figured I knew what they're shooting. It's kind of like a Makarov or something, right? Kind of crude, like a Tokarov.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not as crude as Tokarov, but because I mean, basically, it's a Beretta, but it's just made by, you know, a different company. It'd be like, you know, something the Spanish made or something. You know, kind of the equivalent. I think Spanish were a little better with it. So it's just one of those knockoff pistols, but I mean, it's a pistol that's reliable, fires, functions the same way as the original did. Yeah. You know, one of those things. You want a real one, you want a knockoff. Myself, I would want the real one.
Oh, that is not it. So I'm looking now for our gun of the day.
The Helwan? Ewan?
Oh, I mean our gun movie of the day. We just did the gun
Oh.
of the day. So our gun movie is called. Wait. It's called Old Man and the Gun. Is it a new movie?
I don't know. I'll try to look it up real quick.
Oh, I guess it's a new
Why?
movie. I haven't
Yeah,
heard
it's
of
a
it.
brand new movie. I couldn't find
Yes.
it anywhere.
Okay,
I
so
Old Man and the Gun is an upcoming American crime drama film written and directed by David Lowery, based upon an article by the same name by David Gran.
this thing here says an elderly bank robber who has managed to escape from prison over a dozen times in his life before moving to a retirement community looks to spice things up with another heist. So I guess it's going to be a gun movie because it says gun in it, and it'll have Robert Redford in it and Sissy Spacek.
Yep.
And
Danny Glover.
Keith Carradine, a bunch of other people. So,
Carradine. He's dead.
No, Keith Carradine. Is he dead?
Oh. Different guy.
Yeah, he's still alive. Otherwise, it'd have been like a Weekend at Bernie's type of weird thing. This was, let's see, based on the true story of Forrest Tucker from his audacious escape from San Quentin at the age of 70, string of heists that confounded authorities and enchanted the public. So I guess it's based off a true story. So we got that recommended to us in an email, I think, or maybe when we were doing something, and none of us has seen it, obviously, because it hasn't come out yet. So it says it's a comedy crime drama.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of new. We haven't done one for a movie that hasn't come out yet. So tomorrow it'll be Death Wish. That one has definitely come out, but it looks like they're making a new Death Wish. It's going to be horrible. There's no way they can make a new Death Wish good.
I can't.
We do have a comment over on the YouTube side. I just want to second it from William Hendricks. It says, for anyone coming to shooting range in Illinois, be sure to get your ammo before you come. And that is absolutely true. So if you're coming, whether it's to shoot for fun or competition, make sure you buy it before you get in the state.
You mean because without an FOID, we won't be able to?
Exactly.
Okay. What about if we go in with you, and then is that like a straw purchase in Illinois?
Technically on paper, yeah.
Oh, crazy. But can I buy ammo off of you in Illinois?
Is a private sale? That's a good question. I don't know.
If they make it a law that you have, well, that's just sort of like saying, because there's no interstate ammo law. So it would be like saying, oh, we don't have, we can say that you have to go through an FFL. Well, I don't know. Can you sell a gun to another person in Illinois, or do you have to go through a gun shop?
Yes.
So you don't need to go through a gun shop to do a 4473 to sell a gun to your kid or your friend down the street.
No, but there is a process I have to go through for the state police.
Oh, well, that's what I'm talking about. So if there's some like precedent for firearms and they say that ammo is dealt the same way, there might be something for ammo in Illinois. I really don't know. I mean, obviously there's how they enforce that, but whatever.
Yeah.
Good people try to do the law, right?
I mean,
so.
The loss of true private sales is a fairly new thing to Illinois. We used to be able to have normal private sales. That just recently changed.
All right. Well, with that, I think we have hit most of the stuff we want to hit on a daily basis. We can look at gun history. Take a look at what happened today in history. If anything interesting happened. Looks like in 1778, kind of 2 years later, in support of the American Revolution, Louis the something declares war on England. Oh, today in 1890, Wyoming became our 44th state. 1890. 1940, Germany began bombing England.
Yeah, that didn't work out so well for him, did it?
It was probably a bad idea.
I got a quick question, and I should know this, but I can't seem to remember. Are there any of the lower 48 states that were not states prior to the year becoming 1900?
Yeah, Arizona didn't become a state from a territory till 1918.
Wow.
No, 1913. My grandpa was born in 1918. So I think 1913 Arizona became a state or something like that. So y'all were running around enjoying, like, probably some states were like 100 years, maybe more than 100 years old, right? Yeah. And then Arizona.
I mean, it would be interesting just simply to know, like, I mean, because yes, we have territories today like Puerto Rico and things like that, but not connected to the mainland where we have direct access, land access. You could just drive there. As far as what was it like and how were things handled when it was a territory? Were things a little bit looser than necessarily, let's say 20 years after it became a state? I mean, that would have been a question, maybe for your grandpa or your great-grandpa.
No, territories were way different back in the day. And you got to figure the Gadsden Purchase is where we got, where I live. Phoenix was in Tucson, was in the territories, but Tucson and Yuma and everything south of Phoenix basically was still Mexico. And then we bought it in 29,000 square miles in the Gadsden Purchase, and that was in 1854. So that was only 50 years before the turn of the century.
Any idea what was the thought process behind what value did they see in buying that, what access it gave the United States?
Yeah, the purchase included land south of the Gila River so that the Rio Grande and west of the Rio Grande, which gave the U.S. enough land to construct a transcontinental railroad on a deep southern route. So down here, there is still a continental divide, but you can just drive it. You don't have to walk up with nothing. So
Gotcha.
It allowed the railroad to come down here and get it to California.
I mean, that makes perfect sense as far as, having an alternate way for commerce.
Yeah, because we were doing it through the passes up north, and that was obviously winter. There's no winter down here. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if, well, I guess some of our railroad tracks have been replaced, but you know what I mean? They could probably lay them tracks and let them sit forever.
Yeah.
Anyway, we bought all that stuff off of Mexico, and they got mad, and they want to have all that stuff back.
Yeah, but they sold it. So.
They sold it.
I mean, Aztlan. Well, the country sold it. Don't mean people standing there who got sold didn't like it necessarily.
Well, I understand that, but
I wasn't alive back then. I honestly have no idea. I would suspect people would rather be in the United States than Mexico, no matter what the hell year it was. That's just
of course. If anything, they would like the United States to take over the next 500 miles of Mexico.
Well, I'm down for that, but yeah, I wasn't around back then, but I suspect there's always going to be somebody who's not happy. But
yeah, usually the indigenous people.
Well, I mean, I don't think all of them were, because America, the United States, I should say, meant, that was still 1850, so Indian Wars still. So we're talking protection from the Apaches and shit, which I don't know if Mexico gets any protection from the Apaches.
Not very much.
The Apaches used to play that Mexico line as a place so the cavalry wouldn't chase after them.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine that might have had something to do with it too.
I am surprised that the United States didn't come to some sort of post-haste agreement with Mexico for what I call a hot pursuit sort of thing.
Oh, we did. I think that's some of the fun when you read about it. It's just like everything. There's certain guys that are just going to get the job done and then take the responsibility for it later, or not.
Yeah, well, they'll say they got them just before the border, when in fact they were 20 miles over.
Like, that guy won't be a problem anymore. Where'd you get him? That guy won't be a problem anymore.
better to do it and and get the job done rather than ask permission and risk being told not to. All right.
Well, that is true.
If you just go and do it, and then it's after the fact, well, I got the guy. Yeah, but you crossed the border. What, you want me to take them back? No? Okay.
Yeah, I just find the history of the West and, both Southwest, Northwest, whatever, I just find it very fascinating.
Yeah,
because American history is something that we got in school, but we didn't get as much as I would have liked.
Yeah, well, we have
120 years of battles. So every other war that we get in school is like 4 years, 6 years at the longest, 2 years. So the way they give it to us just doesn't even show the significance of the time involved. And the generations of 120 years of fighting is generations of people dealing with something that they talk about in like a week in school. And then most of the time we had to memorize like the names of the tribes. It was stupid.
Yeah. And the dates. This year to that year.
Yeah, it's one of the things they talk about up here is when they talk about how, the native people were conquered. Well, yeah, after 150 years of warfare, they were our most dangerous foes. They were the Europeans', hardest fought battles. So, I mean, crazy to think that they're somehow lesser. I mean, these guys came so close to kicking our ass with just bows and arrows until they figured out to pick up our guns. They just couldn't get organized.
And then I also wondered how, as a percent-wise, how rare it was for what were referred to as renegade whites, which basically, for various reasons, they would either, for just criminal reasons, they would sell the Indians things they weren't supposed to be selling them, like rifles and black powder and all that sort of stuff, ways to make bullets, to people who were actually sympathized with the Indians, to people that were actually partially raised by the Indians.
Yeah, well, there was we had the whole thing with Métis up here, right? We had a whole an actual, I guess you call it revolution or insurgency, where we had the local Métis and Indian people like rose up and said, "Nope, this is our land now. We're keeping it. It's ours. We're going to call it Rupert's land." And so Canadians had to build a railway to send the army.
It's kind of ironic that they give it an English name.
They're Métis, right?
Rupert?
Half Scottish, half Native. That was the biggest group. And then they had some smaller Indian tribes join them, but by and all, it was a kind of a homegrown group of half-breeds, you'd call them, right? Although they prefer Métis, and I think it's a better name for them, actually. But yeah, they were, mostly Scottish or French whites who intermarried with the native population, and they just had their own culture and everything on either side. But you can imagine Scots, they got an independent streak in them.
Now, isn't that like towards the Hudson Bay area?
No, it's actually up here, pretty much around Saskatchewan, Yorkton, those kind of areas. So that's kind of in between where I am and Alberta, where Flath is. Yeah, North Battleford, there was a big battle. There was a fort there, and a big battle where the Canadian military used Gatling guns on them and small cannon. And the local Métis were out of everything, out of ammo and everything, so they were like stuffing rocks down the barrels of their muskets. But yeah, pretty much.
Right. With that, I'm going to keep going with a couple other things I thought were interesting. Said that one, so let's see. In 1965, I Can't Get No Satisfaction became the Rolling Stones' first hit in the United States. And were you two alive back then? 65?
Yeah, I was 4 years old.
Oh, okay. Bob was older, though, right?
Yeah, I remember the song.
He was what, 10, 11?
Yeah, something like that.
Was it a big deal, like the Beatles?
No. Well,
Not as big as the Beatles, because they were the first big splash. Were the Beatles?
Yeah, the Rolling Stones were like almost the anti-Beatles. So if you like the Stones, you usually didn't like the Beatles.
But not as big a thing hitting the States.
No, not quite. It was still a big thing.
Not the initial hit, but as time went on, they were a major rock, money-wise, dollar-wise, they were a major money-making band.
Yeah, well, they toured a lot more than the Beatles did. The Beatles got so big, it almost destroyed them, really.
I mean, one of those bands that would, like, I forget if 747s are around yet, but whatever the big jets of the day were, literally had their own jumbo jet to travel in.
Yeah,
just like Led Zeppelin did.
So now I'm going to go on to this one, which I thought was kind of interesting. 1991, Boris Yeltsin is sworn in as the first elected president of the Russian Federation following the breakup of the USSR. So 1991, that's basically the end of the Cold War, you could say. It's already out. You were way out. So we're talking, there's kids that are alive today that don't even know what it's like for the USSR to exist. That's just all movie stuff for them, like World War II.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be like it was just the most massive country in the world, right? Because it had all those satellite states that were part of it, eh?
Well, it was definitely the super villain for everything. Like that was fear, right? It's crazy how much the world has changed. Anyway, 1991 seems like forever ago, and that was already after the fall of the wall and the breakup. All the satellite countries rebelling and going free. Kind of neat. Anyway, we don't think about that stuff. I don't know if it probably has nothing to do with guns, but I was looking at the dates thing there, this day in history. I figured I'd bring some of them up. I'm also going to go.
I think I know I have a Tokarev and an AK, and I know you have many things that you wouldn't have if it wasn't for that country existing.
Actually, if it wasn't for that situation right there, because I wouldn't give a crap about them because they were our enemies. But what I really like about collecting the Kalashnikov stuff is that they spent so much of their time and effort trying to kill us that they went bankrupt. And I don't know if that was planned or not from our end, but it obviously worked out well that way. And whether or not you believe the different conspiracy theories on all the insides of that, it's worked out pretty dang well. They spent all that money, went bankrupt. At least the evil people over there went bankrupt, right? All the regular people ended up still existing for the most part. They didn't, except for the people they killed in mass when they first were taken over. Whenever they went peacefully into capitalism, most of those people took over the factories and bought them as companies and ran them like companies, and people get paid and they're still kicking out products. So I think of that Cold War relics as just that. These are the souvenirs of the Cold War, the souvenirs of war, that we're playing with, that are just now.
To the victors go the souvenirs.
Yeah. So
I love cheap SKSs. I mean, those are excellent quality rifles for dirt cheap. And the SVT-40, that's like a classic piece of history. I love being able to buy that shit.
All right, so with that, I think we're about done. This is Monday, so that means Matt will be over on Gun Channels tonight. HVS, Hawaii Volcano Squad, does his, let's say hit or miss. It's lock and load tonight. We like shooting, sometimes post their stuff over here still on Gun Channels as well. So anybody that's still interested in watching something live, head on over to Gun Channels and check out some of the other live shows that are on. Let's see. Tomorrow morning.
Now, just as a
go ahead.
Preview, is this week the official preview week of TAC Clover or Clover TAC?
Well, Clover's already done a few shows. He did a show on Friday. He did a show last Thursday. So, yeah.
Right. But this will be his first full week of doing the 3 that he wanted to do. Is that correct?
I don't want to speak for him, so he's out in the chat. He'll let us know.
Okay.
But tomorrow will be the early watch. Well, it'll be Good Morning Gun Channels. They kind of toggle back and forth. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is early watch. Tuesday, Thursday is Good Morning Gun Channels, but a long format, usually 6 to 8 hours each morning, up until, starting in the morning and then run until this show starts. The guys are hosting it over on Gun Channels, so if you're interested in something that's better than radio, because you can go in there and chat and be part of the conversation, you can even jump in if you got a day off or you got some time. Guys will come jump in and they're in their lunch hours and stuff, so it makes for a pretty interesting show. I think you were in earlier today, right, Dano?
Yes, just for a little bit before I had to go do some official business for the state.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of a cool thing that they've developed over there. They've got some formats, so they've got different segments and stuff. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. There's all kinds of other shows. That's why we mention them over here. And seeing if we've got any feedback from CloverTac yet. Next Generation show will premiere, yes, first full week. Awesome. So thanks again. It's been an excellent addition to Gun Channels, and good to see some new blood and jumping off with some good shows. So stay tuned for those on the schedule. He's got the times in there, so I'm going to go to the schedule real quick.
And I'd like to officially welcome him aboard, being his first full week over at Gun Channels, and a welcome addition at that. So look forward to it, CloverTac.
Yeah, congrats, man. I look forward to talking to you for sure. Anyway.
Well, he'll keep working on the schedule, and then we're here every day, so we'll tell you the schedule tomorrow. So I think we're finally done with everything. I'm going to take a second for some goodwill and karma. Thanks again, everyone who watches the show. We do appreciate it. I'm hoping that everybody will give me good auction vibes again, so that when this auction ends before the next show, I will hopefully own a van so that we can get this show literally on the road. Thanks everybody for their support, and we'll let you know the hopefully good news tomorrow.
Are you sure Janice isn't bidding on it again?
Shannon? No, I hope not.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps up our show. Everybody knows we like to end our show with a quote. Before that, though, I would like to remind everybody to like, share, and subscribe. And if you like the shows and you want to support us, there are Patreon links in the description. Everybody, and our quote today is by Theodore Roosevelt. No man is above the law, and no man is below it, nor do we ask any man's permission when we ask him to obey it. It's by Theodore Roosevelt, and on that note, I'd like to say thanks to everybody for watching and listening, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.